Hey everybody, Bob Chick here with David Bay. I am in David Bay attire. Look at this, buddy. I'm missing a backwards hat, but
I had some nice attire. My bag is somewhere out in the abyss. I have no idea where it is.
It's somewhere between in Lake Ontario.
They told me it was on my plane, and then it wasn't. So it's
you got nothing, bro. That's what you got. That's okay. Listen, you're representing. We're here in Toronto, the Toronto Pro Superstar, in effect, the 5th year here for Ron Hachey. And a great lineup, it looks like, once again, David. He's got them all. He's got every category.
Every category. This is one of the only shows throughout the course of the entire year that has every single division, right, including now men's wheelchair bodybuilding. So,
some are well represented, some not so much. We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But 600 amateurs here in their OPA, which is like the NPC, that we have in the state. So, congratulations to Ron. 600 amateurs. They're actually competing right now.
Yeah, so it's going to go late.
Yeah, that's going to be a late one. Let's talk about the lineup, though, David. Not the strongest in terms of names, but a few names jumped in here at the end. So I think we're going to end up with a decent show.
Yeah, it seems like it's been an interesting year. You have a lot of big names that aren't qualified for the Olympia, and we keep seeing these opportunities pop up. I thought this would be a stacked show. It was a pretty stacked show last year. A little bit light on names, but as you said, there are some big names. Johnny Jackson is here, Fred Smalls, Stephen Frazier making his first stage appearance in 2015, and Brandon Curry coming off of a 5th place at both the Arnold in Australia and the Arnold in Brazil. So if I have to pick a favorite, I'm going with Brandon Curry tomorrow. Obviously, conditioning hasn't been his strong point in his last few outings, but given this lineup, I think his muscularity and his aesthetics will probably take him to the front spot.
Well, it's an interesting lineup, and you got to throw Henry up here and there, my man from Canada. He'll be representing here, but did very well in New York this year, the top 5 finish. I tell you what, he's not the biggest, thickest guy out there, but he comes in condition and he's well proportioned. That may go over well with the judges. Gary, you did, by the way, head judging this competition. But this thing's wide open, David. You talk about your different physiques. You got Johnny Jackson, I would guess one of the pre-contest favorites. Freddie Small is probably the most complete guy out there, but conditioning always a factor there. Can he bring the conditioning? Brandon Curry, the most top-ranked guy, but again, we've seen him on and off. He comes in smooth. He could be anywhere from 2nd to 5th. He comes in dead on. I mean, he could win this thing easily. So, how are you seeing this one going?
You pretty much said it. I think any one of those guys can win, but it's just a matter of who brings it. I mean, there's not a Rami here where somebody can show up at 90% and walk away with the win. Any one of these guys can win. I mean, even Ibrahim Fahim
from Egypt. Now, we saw him at the Olympia last year as he won the amateur Olympia. Qualified there. We've seen him. That's a hell of a show to debut at as a pro, as the Olympia stage.
Yeah, he jumped into pretty deep waters. And all things considered, I think he looked respectable being on Olympia stage for a pro debut. So he could do very well here as also. You brought up Henry's name. Yep. I'm really surprised Henry doesn't have a bigger following in the bodybuilding community that he does. You get so many guys talking over and over and over about how they want these throwbacks. They want these guys who look like Frank Zane, and they want these classic looking bodybuilders. And this guy is literally, if you're a fan of classic bodybuilding physiques, he is about as perfect as it can get. On top of it, he's a good looking dude, a lot of hair,
Hey,
you know what? With the men's physique,
you got to go with the guys with the hair. I like that myself.
Right.
You also got
Ian Villar.
Ian Villiers.
He looked great in Orlando. One of the few guys to show up in really good conditioning. Talked to him a little bit before the show. Said he thinks he's a little bit tighter and a little bit fuller, so he could do very well also.
Well, is this a missed opportunity? Now, again, we just went through some of the perennials. Obviously, there's some more names in here, and take your pick out of a dark horse. Anybody could come in here literally if they're in condition and light up that stage. We saw some back and forth on Cedric McMillan. Now, I got to be honest, bro. I'm going to speak my piece on this. I don't know who runs Cedric's camp, but I see a whole bunch of missed opportunities in ill-placed shows. He does the Arnold, goes to Australia, but doesn't compete in the Australia. Bad move right there. Goes to Brazil, obviously a stacked lineup, comes up short against Big Rami, which anybody would have came up short, but then doesn't come here to Toronto. He could have waltzed into this show at 95%, with all due respect to everybody, won this thing and qualified for the Olympia. He ain't here.
Yeah, I don't know if, I guess you can look at it from a couple different ways. Is it missed opportunities? Maybe he's just a throwback to somebody who wants to compete against the absolute best. I mean, I think he's going to end up, if you look at the points qualification, I can't speak for Cedric and how he wants to get to that Olympia stage. I think he's probably going to be sitting in a pretty decent spot to get to the Olympia stage on points. There's only a handful of shows left. We have Dallas coming up. We have Chicago.
Tampa.
We have Tampa,
Atlantic City.
I believe Atlantic City, and then maybe one more out in California before the Olympia. So you have maybe four or five more opportunities, and there's there's a handful of big names that need to qualify. I think Victor Martinez, another guy. Victor is at the top of the points list right now. Branch Warren not qualified as well. So there's a lot of big names. Steve Kuklo not qualified. There's a lot of big names that aren't doing these shows, and seemingly any one of those guys could have jumped in here.
And not to harp on the veterans like Cedric, because he has been out there. Where are the new guys? Where are the new guys? Where's the kid who won the USA? Where's Nick? Where's the guy who, any of those guys that we interviewed that won the Nationals in their classes? All those guys were good. All of them were worthy of. This is a perfect show to make your debut at. Get your feet wet and possibly make a mark. I mean, I just see lost opportunity all over the place. But we turn more and more people pro. But we're starting to see less and less people. Speaking of which, we'll turn the page to 212. Now you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, what do we got? 7 guys?
7, yeah. 8.
8 guys in the 212. And again, not a lot of names that you recognize. There's a few on here, which we'll get into in a second, David. But, for all you guys out there, let me make this a PSA, okay? More guys that turn pro every single year are eligible for the 212 than any other class. So you go to the USA, 6 out of the 8 classes are guys that weight-wise are eligible for 212. Guys, if you don't come out, these classes don't have to stay around forever. So, like I say, take this from somebody who knows what they're talking about. You got to get out there, you got to start competing, and you got to get in these shows. Promoters start to see these type of lineups where there's only 6, 7, 8 guys. They're not going to bother anymore.
No.
They're going to stick with the class. They wonder why men's physique and women's physique and then bikini kick ass when it comes to, geez, why are they giving them all the money? Why are they doing this? Because they show up.
Yeah.
But let's get into some winners and losers here, David.
Yeah, the 212. The 212 class, as far as favorites, Mboya Edwards and Sean Clarita jump out at me. Raul Carrasco, I know he's come in and brought some pretty good conditioning at some shows. It's a pretty shallow lineup, and you bring up a really good point and there's so many light heavyweights, and even some of the guys that are turning pro in the heavyweights. We talk about there being 2 divisions. There's a lot of guys turning pro heavyweights at 210, 215 who could very well come in and pull off a few pounds and compete in this 212 class. And we're just not seeing the numbers. There's been a handful of pro shows this year where there's 212. I know some of the guys are going to come out and say, well, the money's not there for the 212, so it's not going to bring in the guys.
How much money is there if there is no 212?
How
much money is there if there's just an open and you weigh 212?
Well, on the flip side,
you're giving up 40 pounds against these guys.
On the flip side of things, if you start getting guys showing up for these 212 shows, and all of a sudden, hey, we got 20 guys, the fans are getting excited, then maybe the money goes up. It's a chicken or the egg type thing. Okay, are we going to have more guys, and then if more guys show up, you have more competitive, more exciting shows, then the money's going to come, or is it going to be a matter of these guys are like, well, the money's got to come first, and then we're going to show up?
So, chicken and the egg, apples and oranges, yin and the yang. Where are we going here, Dave?
I don't have any good answers.
Last week, Raul Carrasco, Sean Clarita both looked excellent in Puerto Rico, and a big shout out to Tim Gardner and the crew for putting that first ever event on. Very successful in Puerto Rico, and the fans were off the hook. Sean Clarita, the Giant Killer, is only about $170, if that. And I tell you this, 160. All right. Let me tell you something. This kid's good. He ain't the biggest out there, but he's put together and he's good. My dark horse pick for the win, but he's got to get by Mboya, and he's got to get by who's my other guy in there? Raul Carrasco. I tell you what, these guys are going to bring it. So it should be an interesting, short but sweet. Speaking of short but sweet, we got some ladies coming up.
Yeah, there's the whole women's side of this show is kind of a toss-up. I mean, we got a couple of bigger names in some of the divisions, but for the most part, not a lot of them showing up here. I mean, which on one hand, had we talked about earlier, missed opportunity for some people. On the flip side of that, a good opportunity for somebody to earn an Olympia qualification spot, and somebody to make a name for themselves here.
Decent lineup of women's physique. but I don't even know a whole lot of names on there. So this thing's wide open. I mean, there's not a lot of pre-contest favorites on there, which sometimes makes for a good show.
Yeah, women's physique. I honestly, I got nothing. Most of the names I'm looking down. Some of them I've seen before, so I don't want to say like I don't know. But if I had to pick out a winner, I really couldn't do it. So
like I say, could make for a good competition out there.
Absolutely. As far as women's bodybuilding goes, on the flip side,
even
of that,
shorter.
Yeah, we have 7 names. Christine Envol, I know she's one of the thicker girls. She's done well in the past, and she always comes in great condition. If I had to pick somebody off this list, that's probably who I'd go with. But another division where, especially in the women's bodybuilding side of it, there's so much talk about there's not opportunities for those girls, or there's only a certain number of shows, and all the women who are competing on the bodybuilding side and the people that they have supporting them are talking so much about the opportunities aren't there. Here you have a really good show. Granted, you got to do a little bit of international travel, but not really. It's just north of the border. It's a short flight from anywhere. And this is a premier event. I mean, this is a gorgeous hotel, the convention center, the expo, everything from top to bottom of this event is as good as anybody could ask for. So it's such a good opportunity for some of these professionals, and to see a lineup with 7 people, it's a little disappointing.
The fire's out, bro. I hate to say it, but unfortunately, you talk about classes that disappear when you don't see the support. At the NPC level, it's almost non-existent. Yeah. And I'm all over the place. Every week I'm at a show. I see NPC, I see IFBB. Rarely anymore is there a show with 1 or 2.
Junior USA's had 3.
And that's the Junior USA. Junior Nationals only had a handful. So you can see that that there is no light at the end of the tunnel for that, unfortunately. Women's physique is definitely where it's at. You're seeing bigger numbers. It's better. But it's got more public appeal. I don't want to turn this into a sermon, because we can go back and forth on the boards, and I'm sure we will now this week. And that's fine. We welcome it. So bring it on, guys. If you want to battle, I'll debate this thing all day long. But, listen, you can see it coming a mile away. I mean, it's more achievable. It's definitely liked more by the women themselves. It's a look that they like. It's not as extreme.
Right.
And that's the key. Also the reason why men's physique is so popular.
Right.
It's not as extreme. Why is men's physique so popular? Because it's not bodybuilding. It's not that extreme. It's that simple. People want to know why, because guys can get into that kind of shape easier. They don't have to go through the rigmarole. They don't have to go through the sups and all that kind of stuff and go to that. Again, bodybuilding's an extreme. Let's face it.
Very much so. Very much so. So
let's get into the ladies. We got figure and we got bikini, man.
You don't want to skip
and fitness.
Bikini.
That's right. We got to follow.
Fitness. Fitness is one of those things where it's like it seemed like it was slowing down as far as numbers. Now you're seeing more shows with it. From a fan standpoint, to me, this is one of the best divisions there is.
Me too.
It's one where you actually get to see people performing. It's a lot of fun. You see these girls come out, a lot of energy. As far as this lineup, I think Rael Graber, obviously being here from Canada, she's going to be a crowd
definitely your favorite. Yeah.
Looking at the list, a favorite as well from a competitive standpoint.
Well, again, a nice lineup, and I like the girls that start these shows off with some high energy and some performance. And I'll tell you what, you've got some world-class routines in there. So I look forward to the fitness routines. I really do.
Absolutely. And the athlete discussion gets tossed around. Are bodybuilders athletes? Are they not? There's no question.
Who cares?
These girls are athletes. Almost all of them with a dance or a cheerleading or a gymnastics background. So definitely looking forward to it. So,
all right, pro figure, pro bikini. Let's go with figure first.
Jen Strobel. I gotta say, she's, to me, got to be the hands down favorite. Again, another list.
She's coming off a win in Puerto Rico. I was there for that.
Yeah.
Jen looked great, well deserved. She probably signed up for this before, but she's in a no lose now. She's qualified for the Olympia. She can come here. If she wins, great. It's another feather in the cap and a paycheck. If she doesn't, she's still qualified.
Yeah, looking at this lineup, barring Jen, messing something up in the last 24 hours. We saw her here at check-ins. She looks fantastic as always. So I think she's probably going to be your front runner. On to your favorite division,
bikini.
Bikini.
How do you beat it?
Bikini is another one of those divisions where we see a handful of names, not a lot of big names, but definitely.
Listen, you want me to just give you the top 3 right now?
Bob's going to give you the top 3.
In no particular order, because I don't want people holding me to this.
Oh, so he's going to say top 3, but then he's going to back away a little.
Well, I got to see him.
All right.
Hey, at least I'm going on a limb here with the top 3 before the show. All right. Stephanie Mahoy.
Okay.
It's not Maho, by the way. I called her that once, and she said, "Hey, I ain't your hoe."
Nope.
Stephanie Mahoy. It's Hawaiian. Kelly Bundy.
Okay.
Dana Malatin.
All right. I'm gonna
easy call.
Okay, if I can add a 4th,
sure, go ahead.
I'll take your top 3. I will. And Anya Els, the Canadian, she's from right here in Toronto. Won the Arnold Amateur overall this year, as we've seen in the past.
Yeah,
some of the winners that do that show and place well, go on to the big things. So I think we'll probably see her in the top 5. I don't know if the top 4.
I think that's a good pick.
3,
That's a good pick.
Yeah,
very broad of you.
enough.
I went to 3, but that's okay.
Very broad. Nobody wants to hear the top 4.
Not to be
3,
not to be
5.
outdone. Not to be outdone. Wheelchair pros are here.
Wheelchair pros. This is an awesome division to see at any show. The promoter here in Toronto wants to have every division, so it makes sense that he added in wheelchair. The 2 names that jump out are going to be Nick Scott and Harold Kelly.
These guys battle, man.
Yeah, and they've gone back and forth. Usually Harold's got the edge. He's a little bit bigger than Nick. Sometimes
Nick's been coming on, though.
Yeah, Nick's been coming
Harold
on.
used to have a big advantage. Nick's brought it up a few notches, and he actually beat Harold at the last show I was at, which Harold was not pleased. But he came in off. Again, I've seen Harold, he's on every time. This time he was soft, and for him.
Right.
And Nick came in and stole the thunder, man, I tell you. But it was cool to see because you got some rivalry going on here. But I'm guessing if I was a betting man that Harold put his nose to the grindstone.
Well, he won over in the UK a few weeks ago. He won the body power in UK.
So don't be surprised if he's back to specs. But him and Nick, I still think you're going to battle it out.
Absolutely, and this is a really cool division. I think anybody who's into bodybuilding or weight training or fitness in general can find a lot of motivation in these guys in the wheelchairs, and not. Not to say that they're not as good as the other athletes or anything like that. They're just facing some different obstacles, and they don't let that get in the way. And we look at an industry, and not just an industry-wide thing, but a worldwide thing of people having excuses left and right for this, that, this. And here you got a couple guys, obviously some setbacks. I know with Harold Kelly, he was a competitive bodybuilder, got in a car accident. Right. He's done. But that wasn't how he was going to look at it. So aside from being a fan of the sport of bodybuilding, this is a very motivational division to have at a show. The crowd absolutely loves it. They went nuts when Nick Scott did his little guest posing in here last year. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But again, I think Harold Kelly, that's going to be my pick for the win.
All right, there's your pre-contest picks. As we move on to the 5th annual Toronto Pro Super Show, we'll be back all weekend long. So stay tuned right here and get on the boards, guys. We'll be on if I can get an international hookup for the computer.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So, but we'll be back all weekend long with updates. Prejudging tomorrow, so we'll be back right after the prejudging with
9:15.
9:15
I said
a.m.
9:30 in a couple interviews.
9:15 a.m. starts it all tomorrow. So somewhere towards noontime, we'll have some wrap up on the prejudging and the results from that. Saturday, of course, the finals. Tomorrow night there's some finals. Sunday is the rest of the finals. So you got a pure 2-day split here. So we'll bring it to you all weekend long. Assuming your luggage comes, you may see David tomorrow wearing the same exact thing.
The same thing. They gave me a T-shirt.
I got extra T-shirts.
They
bro.
gave me a
you fit into a 3X.
Delta gave me no. I have to ask the guys on the boards. Everything's medium, man.
Medium.
Everything's medium.
I can't help you out there, brother. All right. Well, we'll see if David's luggage makes it. If not, he'll be here. Although, we'll just turn it inside out. It'll look like something else.
Perfect.
All right. For David Bate, this is Bob Chick. Wrapping things up here in Toronto. We'll catch everybody tomorrow.